Okay, I'm going to show you something that I learned the other day, and this kind of falls along the same lines as what you're talking about. Okay, when I got finished with all my layers and my coloring and everything, I right-clicked it, and there's one that says merge visible, merge layers, or flatten image. You could use any of those. I don't think it really matters. Sometimes I use one, sometimes I use the other. All has the same effect. It makes it into one layer like this, which is very helpful. Now, there's two ways to do this. You can lasso everything off with the magic wand, you know, like do her face and do it like this, which I find is cool because then you don't have to do everything. If you hold it over here, you can do quick selection tool and it'll give you this plus sign. You can just kind of drag it where you want it. And I just want to do her face on this one, and then I'll show you something else different. And I use this for different things. I always saw people's pictures and that their skin tones looked so good and realistic, and I could not figure out how they were doing it. It was driving me nuts. So I did this one day just playing with it, and it worked really well for me. But what I did was I highlighted her face to select her face just with this little wand tool over here, and I used the quick selection tool. And then if I need to cut back, I go up here and there'll be a subtract, or I can use plus. A lot of times I use the whole image, but for this, when I learned to do this, it was actually with this image right after I did the video. So I'm going to go over to filter, I'm going to go to blur, and down here there's one that says smart blur. I did not know what this was, so I decided I was going to try it out. And it's going to take a little bit. But what you can do is turn it up at the threshold a little bit, and sometimes it'll say, I don't know why, but sometimes it'll say high, medium, low, and you can kind of adjust, and it's going to show you what that blur is going to do to this. And I want a little blur, but no, I don't want to blur the image. I want to smooth her skin tone out. So I'm going to push OK, and instantly that looks more natural to me than it did. Then I'm going to go in and do another filter that says Sharpened Edges. And that's going to sharpen all those edges, like her nose, her mouth, her teeth, her eyes, all that. Awesome. Okay. And it only did it to this area because that's what was masked off. So sometimes you may want to do it to one area and not do it to everything else. But that's what these little filters are for. There's sharpen, and if you didn't like the sharpened edges or you wanted it some more, you could go in and push sharpen more, and see that's way too sharp for me. So I'm going to step backwards. You can even go to just sharpen, and it's going to sharpen those some more. But when I get done here, instead of having to go back and subtract all this back off, I can go up here to select and push deselect, and it's going to deselect that. But see, that's her face now. But I'm going to take a step back if I can, and I was going to show you what it looked like beforehand. There's a way to do this, I know. Go forward, go forward, forward, go forward. Okay. There's a history tool. There it is. So, so this is what it looks like now. I don't know why my selection's back on there. But that's what it looks like now. And that's what it looked like before. So you can see the difference there. Okay, so let's select, deselect. Okay, say we wanted to do it to the whole picture. This is generally how I do it because it's faster and I don't have to mask things off. What I would do is go select all, automatically selects it, go to filter, go to blur, smart blur, take that up just a hair, and it's going to vary by picture how much you want it to do. You can always adjust it. And then I'm going to go here, do Sharpened Edges, and that gives it just a cleaner look than what it had before. And then I'm going to go in and push deselect. It just gives it a cleaner look. Another cool little thing, which I found this action online somewhere. But, I like this one too. If I can find it, I will show it to you. Did I pass it again? It's called the Orton Effect. And they use this a lot in PicMonkey. And it's one of my favorite, it's an action there too, I guess. But, I always considered it like a filter. But they don't have it under the filters here. So I had to go online and find it. But you push the Orton Effect because that's what I want to do initially. I'm going to push play. It's going to say continue. It's going to ask me to blur it. So if I didn't want to use the smart blur, I could do this. And I'm going to do very low because I've already blurred it. Push continue. And I like to turn the contrast up a little bit, but I'm going to leave that brightness, and I'll show you why. Even though it kind of looks the same as it did before, once you push this, it's going to completely darken that photo. But I can go up here and change that opacity down, and it allows me to lighten it back up. So it's just something a little bit neat. But yes, there is a way to sharpen certain things. You have to rope them off with your quick selection tool if you're doing just one thing. Or you can do the entire photo by select all, but you have to wait until it's merged, or do it when it's the original photo before you start coloring and add layers. Because if you get onto another layer that you've already colored and start sharpening, it's only going to sharpen that color. It's not going to sharpen the image itself, because think of it like transparency paper. If you color an image, you put it, okay, the way layers work, you have the original image. If you put a transparency on top of it and color on top of that, and then try to sharpen that, all that is color. You have to go to that original photo to do those effects and those filters, because that's what's going to make the difference there. Doing those filters and things like that, it'd be like trying to spot heal a color. It wouldn't work. You would have to go to that original background image to start with. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You always have to work with the background image when you're trying to change the effects or the way something looks. Or you need to merge them all together, and then you can do it. I usually wait until it's done, unless it's like needing a lot of cleanup. If it needs a lot of cleanup, then I do that first.